Hello, wildlings. I'm your Creep Smith, and you found my Fear Forge. Lucky you. Welcome back, wildlings. Today we're going to try and do another different kind of horror. That said, this one is not safe for work and definitely not something you want the kids to hear. So keep that in mind. Today's story, Guts, by Chuck Pahlianuk. Alright, inhale. Take in as much air as you can. This story should be just about as long as you can hold your breath, and then maybe just a little bit longer. So listen as fast as you can. This friend of mine, when he was 13 years old, he heard about pegging. That's when a guy gets banged up the butt with a dildo. You stimulate the prostate gland hard enough, and the rumor is you can have explosive hands-free orgasms. At that age, this friend's a little sex maniac. He's always jonesing for a better way to get his rocks off. He goes out to buy a carrot and some petroleum jelly to conduct a little private research. Then he pictures how it's going to look at the supermarket checkout counter, the lonely carrot and the petroleum jelly rolling down the conveyor belt toward the grocery store cashier. All the shoppers waiting in line, watching, judging. Everyone seeing the big evening he's got planned. So my friend, he buys milk and eggs and sugar and a carrot. All the ingredients for carrot cake. And Vaseline. Like he's gonna go home to stick a carrot cake up his butt. At home, he whittles the carrot into a blunt tool. He slathers it with grease and grinds his ass down on it. Then, nothing. No orgasm. Nothing happens except it hurts. Then, this kid, his mom yells, "It's supper time." She says, "Come down to dinner right now." He works the carrot out and stashes the slippery, filthy thing in the dirty clothes under his bed. After dinner, he goes to find the carrot, and it's gone. All his dirty clothes, while he ate dinner, his mom grabbed him and went to do the laundry. There is no way she would not find the carrot, carefully shaped with a paring knife from her kitchen, still shiny with lube, still stinky. This friend of mine, he waits months under a black cloud, waiting for his folks to confront him. And they never do, ever. Even now that he's grown up, that invisible carrot hangs over every Christmas dinner, every birthday party, every Easter egg hunt with his kids, his parents' grandkids. The ghost carrot is hovering over all of them. That something too awful to name. People in France have a phrase, staircase wit. In French, esprit de l'escalier. It means that moment when you find the answer, but it's too late. Say you're at a party and somebody insults you. You have to say something, so under pressure with everybody watching, you say something horrible, something lame. But the moment you leave that party, as you start down the stairway, right then, magic. You come up with the perfect thing that you should have said. Perfect, crippling put down. That is the spirit of the stairway. Trouble is, even the French don't have a phrase for the stupid things you actually do say under pressure. Those stupid, desperate things you actually think or do. Some deeds are too low even to get a name, too low to even get talked about. Looking back, kid psych experts, school counselors now say that most of the last peak in teen suicide was kids trying to choke themselves while they beat off. Their folks would find them, towel around their kid's neck, other end of the towel, tied up to the rod in their bedroom closet. Kid is dead. Dead sperm everywhere. Of course, Folks cleaned it all up. They put some pants on their kid. They try to make it look better, or intentional at least. The regular kind of sad teen suicide. Another friend of mine, kid from school, his older brother's in the Navy. He said how guys in the Middle East jack off different than we do here. This brother was stationed in some camel country where the public market sells what could be fancy letter openers. Each fancy tool is just a thin rod of polished brass or silver, maybe as long as your hand, with a big tip on one end, either a big metal ball or the kind of fancy carved handle you'd see on a sword. This Navy brother says how Arab guys get their dick hard and then they insert the metal rod inside the whole length of their boner. Then they jack off with the rod inside, and it makes getting off so much better, so much more intense. It's this big brother who travels around the world sending back French phrases, Russian phrases, helpful jack-off tips. After this little brother, one day, he doesn't show up at school. That night, he calls to ask if I'll pick up his homework for the next couple of weeks. 'Cause he's in the hospital. He says he's got to share a room with old people getting their guts worked on. He says how they all have to share the same television. All he's got for privacy is a curtain, and his folks won't come and visit. On the phone, he says how right now his folks could just kill his big brother in the Navy. On the phone, the kid says how, day before, he was a little stoned, a little horny. At home, in his bedroom, he was flopped on the bed, lighting a candle, flipping through some old porno magazines, ready to beat off. This is after he's heard from Navy brother. That helpful hint about how Arabs beat off. Kid looks around for something that might do the job. Ballpoint pen, nah, too big. Pencil, it's too big and rough, and the graphite might snap off. But dripping down the side of the candle, there's this thin, smooth ridge of wax. Now that just might work. With just the tip of one finger, the kid snaps the long ridge of wax off the candle. He rolls it smooth between the palms of his hands, long, smooth, thin. So, stoned and horny, he slips it down inside his dick, deeper and deeper into the piss hole of his boner. With a good hank of the wax still poking out of the top, he gets to work. Even now, he says those Arab guys are pretty damn smart. They've totally reinvented jerking off. Even on his back, flat on his back in bed, things are getting so good, kid can't even keep track of the wax. He's one good squeeze from shooting his wad when the wax isn't sticking out of his dick anymore. That thin wax rod, it's slipped inside, all the way inside, so deep down in there, he can't even feel the lump inside his piss tube. From downstairs, his mom shouts, "It's supper time." She says to come down to dinner right now. This wax kid and the carrot kid, two different people, but we all live pretty much the same life. It's after dinner when the kid's guts start to hurt. It's wax, so he figured that it would just melt inside him and he'd pee it out. Now his back hurts. His kidneys. He can't even stand up straight. This kid talking on the phone from his hospital bed. In the background you can hear bells ding, people screaming, game shows. The x-rays show the truth. Something long and thin, bent double, inside his bladder. This long, thin V inside him, it's collecting all the minerals in his piss. It's getting bigger and rougher and coated with crystals of calcium. It's bumping around, ripping up the soft lining of his bladder, blocking his piss from getting out. His kidneys are backed up something awful. What little that does leak out of his dick is red with blood. This kid and his folks, the whole family, them looking at the black x-ray with the doctor and the nurses standing there, big V of wax glowing white for everybody to see. He has to tell the truth. the way the Arabs get off, what his big brother wrote him from the Navy. And on the phone, right then, he starts to cry. They paid for the bladder operation with his college fund. One stupid mistake and now he'll never be a lawyer. Sticking stuff inside yourself. Sticking yourself inside stuff. A candle in your dick or your head in a noose. We all knew that it was going to be big trouble. Now, what got me in trouble? I call it pearl diving. This is whacking off underwater, sitting in the bottom at the deep end of my parents' swimming pool. One deep breath, I'd kick my way to the bottom and slip my swim trunks off. I'd sit down there for 2, 3, maybe even 4 minutes. Just from jerking off, I'd worked myself up to having a huge lung capacity. If I had the house to myself, I'd do this all afternoon. After I'd finally pump out my stuff, my sperm, it'd hang there in big, fat, milky globs. After that was more diving, to catch it all, to collect it and wipe each handful in a towel. That's why I called it pearl diving. See, even with chlorine, there was my sister to worry about, or Christ almighty, my mom. That used to be my worst fear in the world. Teenage virgin sister thinking she's just getting fat and then giving birth to a 2-headed retard baby, both heads looking just like me. The father and the uncle. In the end, it's never what you worry about that gets you. Best part of pearl diving was the inlet port for the swimming pool filter and the circulation pump. Best part was getting naked and sitting on it. As the French say, who doesn't like having their butt sucked? Still, 1 minute you're just a kid getting off, and next you'll never be a lawyer. 1 minute, I'm sitting on the pool bottom and the sky is wavy, light blue through 8 feet of water above my head. The world is silent except for the heartbeat in my ears. My yellow striped swim trunks are looped around my neck for safekeeping, and just in case a friend, a neighbor, or anybody shows up to ask why I skipped football practice. The steady suck of the pool inlet hole is lapping at me, and I'm grinding my skinny white ass around on that feeling. 1 minute, I've got enough air, and my dick's in my hand. My folks are gone to work, and my sister's got ballet. Nobody's supposed to be home for hours. My hand brings me right to getting off, and I stop. I swim up to catch another breath, and then dive down and settle on the bottom. I do this again and again. This must be why girls sit on your face. That suction is like taking a dump that never ends. My dick is hard, and I'm getting my butt eaten out. I don't need air. My heartbeat in my ears, I stay under until the bright stars of light start worming around in my eyes. My legs straighten out, and the back of each knee is rubbed raw against the concrete bottom. My toes are turning blue. My toes and my fingers are wrinkled from being so long in the water. And then I let it happen. Big white gobs start spouting, the pearls. It's then that I need some air, but when I go to kick off against the bottom, I can't get my feet under me. My ass is stuck. Emergency paramedics will tell you about every year 150 people get stuck this way, sucked by a circulation pump. You get your long hair cut or your ass cheek gets sucked in and you're gonna drown. Every year tons of people do, most of them in Florida. People just don't talk about it. Not even French people talk about everything. So getting one knee up, getting one foot tucked under me, I get to half standing when I feel the tug against my butt. Getting my other foot under me, I kick off against the bottom, kicking free. I'm not touching the concrete anymore, but I'm not getting to the air either. Still kicking water, thrashing with both arms. I'm maybe halfway to the surface, but I'm not going any higher. The heartbeat inside my head is getting loud and fast. Those bright sparks of light start crossing and crisscrossing behind my eyes. I turn and look back, but what I see doesn't make sense. There's this thick rope, some kind of snake, blue, white, and braided with veins. It's come up out of the pool drain, and it's holding on to my butt. Some of the veins are leaking blood, red blood that looks black underwater and drifts away from little rips in the pale skin of the snake. The blood trails away, disappearing in the water, and inside that snake's thin, blue-white skin, you can see lumps of some half-digested meal. That's the only way this makes sense. Some horrible sea monster, some sea serpent, something that's never seen the light of day. It's been hiding in the dark bottom of the pool drain, waiting to eat me ass first. So I kick at it. I hit the slippery, rubbery, knotted skin and veins of it, and more of it seems to pull out of the pool drain. It's maybe as long as my leg now, but it's still holding tight around my butthole. With another kick, I'm an inch closer to getting another breath. I still feel the snake up my ass, but I'm an inch closer to my escape. And I notice, knotted inside the snake, you can see corn and peanuts. You can see a long, bright orange ball. It's the kind of horse pill vitamin that my dad makes me take to help put on weight, gain muscle, to get a football scholarship. With extra iron, omega-3 fatty acids. It's seeing that vitamin pill that saves my life. It's not a snake. It's my large intestine. My colon pulled all the way out of me. What doctors call prolapsed. It's my guts sucked into the drain. Paramedics will tell you a swimming pool pump pulls 80 gallons of water every minute. That's about 400 pounds of pressure. Big problem is we're all connected together inside. Your ass is just the far end of your mouth. If I let go, the pump keeps working and unraveling my insides until it's got my tongue. Imagine taking about a 400-pound shit, and you can see how this might turn you inside out. What I can tell you is your guts don't feel much pain, not the way your skin feels pain. The stuff you're digesting, doctors call it fecal matter. Higher up in the system is chyme, pockets of thin, runny mess studded with corn and peanuts and round green peas. That's all this soup of blood and corn and shit and sperm and peanuts floating around me. Even with my guts unraveling out my ass, me holding on to what's left, even then, my first want at that moment is to somehow get my swimsuit back on, because God forbid my folks should see my dick. My one hand holding a fist around my ass, my other hand snags my yellow striped swim trunks and pulls them from around my neck. Still, getting into them is impossible. You ever want to feel your intestines? Go buy a pack of lambskin condoms, the old-fashioned kind. Take one out and unroll it. Pack it with peanut butter. Smear the outside with petroleum jelly and then hold it underwater. Then go ahead. Try to tear it. Try to pull it in half. It's too tough. It's too rubbery. It's so slimy you can't even hold on. A lambskin condom. That's just plain old intestine. Now you can see what I'm up against. You let go for a second, you're gutted. You swim for the surface for a breath, you're gutted. You don't swim, you drown. It's a choice between being dead right now or being dead a minute from now. What my folks will find after they get home from work is a big naked fetus curled in on itself, floating in the cloudy water of their backyard pool, tethered to the bottom by a thick rope of veins and twisted guts. The opposite of a kid hanging himself to death while he jacks off. This is the baby they brought home from the hospital 13 years ago. Here's a kid they hoped would snag a football scholarship, get an MBA, who'd care for them in their old age. Here's all their hopes and dreams, floating there, naked, dead. All around him, big, milky pearls of wasted sperm. Either that, or my folks will find me wrapped in a bloody towel collapsed halfway from the pool to the kitchen telephone, ragged torn scrap of my guts still hanging out the leg of my yellow striped swim trunks. What even the French won't talk about. That big brother in the Navy, he taught us one other good phrase. A Russian phrase. You know the way we say, I need that like I need a hole in my head? Well, Russian people say, I need that like I need teeth in my asshole.
Мне это нужно, как мне нужны зубы в моей жопе.
Those stories about how animals caught in a trap will chew off their leg? Well, any coyote will tell you a couple of bites beats the hell out of being dead. Hell, even if you're Russian, someday you might just want those teeth. Otherwise, what you have to do is you have to twist around. You hook one elbow behind your knee and you pull that leg up into your face. You bite and you snap at your own ass. You run out of air and you'll chew through anything to get that next breath. It's not something you want to tell a girl on the first date. Not if you expect a good night kiss. If I told you how it tasted, you would never, ever again eat calamari in your life. It's hard to say what my parents were more disgusted by. How I got in trouble, or how I saved myself. After the hospital, Mom said, "You didn't know what you were doing, honey. You were in shock." And she learned how to cook poached eggs. All those people grossed out or feeling sorry for me. I need that like I need teeth in my asshole. Nowadays, people always tell me I look too skinny. People at dinner parties get all quiet and pissed off when I don't eat the pot roast they cooked. God, pot roast kills me. Baked ham. Anything that hangs around inside my guts longer than a couple of hours. Comes out still food. Home-cooked lima beans or chunk light tuna fish, I'll stand up and find it's still sitting there in the toilet. After you have a radical bowel resectioning, you don't digest meat so great. Most people, you have 5 feet of large intestine. I'm lucky if I still have 6 inches. So I never got a football scholarship, never got an MBA. Both my friends, the Wax Kid and Carrot Kid, they grew up, they got big. But I've never weighed a pound more than I did that day when I was 13. Another big problem was that my folks paid a lot of good money for that swimming pool. In the end, Dad just told the pool guy it was the dog. The family dog fell in and drowned. Dead body got pulled into the pump, and even when the pool guy cracked open the filter casing and fished out a rubbery tube, a watery hank of intestine with a big orange vitamin pill still stuck inside, even then, old Dad just said that dog was fucking nuts. Even from my upstairs bedroom window, you could hear Dad say, "We couldn't let that dog alone for a second." And then my sister missed her period. Even after they changed the pool water. After they sold the house, we moved to another state. After my sister's abortion, even then my folks never mentioned it. Never mentioned it again. Ever. That's our invisible carrot. You? Now you can take a good deep breath. I still haven't. Yeah, not the sort of thing anybody ever talks about. And I thought the rats were bad. Stay scary, wildlings. And make the most of your nights.